Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when I first came to Mumbai, I had nothing but a suitcase full of dreams and a heart full of hope. No family in the industry, no godfather, no guarantees, just a belief that if I worked hard enough, if I stayed true to my passion, something magical would happen. And over the years, I have realized one very important thing. Success, happiness, and even love are not about how much you have. They are about how much you truly need. We live in a world that constantly tells us that more is better. More money, more fame, more followers, more possessions. But let me tell you something, sometimes less is more. In fact, less is everything. And one of the most powerful lessons I have learned in my journey is that when you remove the clutter, you gain clarity. Think about it. When you walk into a room full of noise, you can't hear yourself think. But when everything is still, when you strip away the unnecessary distractions, your mind opens up and you can see what truly matters. The same principle applies to life. We fill our days with so many things, constant scrolling on social media, worrying about what others think, chasing goals that we don't even believe in. And in the process, we forget to focus on what truly makes us happy. When I choose a film, I don't look at how grand the sets are, how many action sequences it has, or how much money it will make. I look at the story. Because at the end of the day, that is what matters. If the story is strong, if it has soul, everything else falls into place. Life is no different. If you know your story, what you stand for, what you love, what makes your heart race, you don't need a million distractions. You just need clarity. And that comes from simplifying your life. I have met so many people who spend their lives chasing things that don't even make them happy. They run after validation, comparing themselves to others, trying to be something they are not. But the truth is, when you let go of the need to impress, you finally find peace. When you stop focusing on what the world expects and start listening to your own heart, life becomes beautiful. Even in relationships, we complicate things. We expect too much. We hold on to grudges. We carry emotional baggage from the past. But love at its core is simple. It is about connection, about understanding, about being there for someone without expectations. Less drama, more love. So if you want to truly succeed in career or in life, start by clearing the clutter. Let go of the unnecessary noise. Focus on what truly matters. And trust me, when you do that, life becomes much clearer, much simpler, and far more beautiful. Fear is one of the greatest barriers between us and the life we truly want to live. It is that little voice in our head that says, what if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? But let me tell you something from experience. Fear is just an illusion. The moment you stop giving it power, you gain something far greater, freedom. When I first stepped into the film industry, I had every reason to be afraid. I was an outsider, a young man from Delhi with no connections in Bollywood. I had no last name that opened doors, no legacy to inherit. But instead of letting fear control me, I embraced the uncertainty. I knew that if I gave in to self-doubt, I would never take the risks necessary to make my dreams come true. And that is the first lesson about fear. It is only as strong as you allow it to be. We live in a world where fear is constantly fed to us. Fear of failure, rejection, fear of not living up to expectations. But if you let fear dictate your choices, you will always play small. You will avoid taking chances, trying new things, and stepping out of your comfort zone. And let me tell you, nothing extraordinary ever happens in the comfort zone. Every great success story, whether in cinema, sports, or business, is written by those who dared to go beyond fear. One of the biggest fears we carry is the fear of failure. Society teaches us that failing is something to be ashamed of, something to avoid at all costs. But in reality, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it. Every time I failed, whether in a film or in life, I learned something invaluable. I learned what not to do, what to do better, And most importantly, that failure is never the end, unless you let it be. Another common fear is the fear of judgment. We are so afraid of what people will say that we often hold ourselves back from being our true selves. But the truth is, no matter what you do, people will always have opinions. If you succeed, they will talk. If you fail, they will talk. So why not live on your own terms? Why not choose freedom over fear? The day you stop fearing judgment is the day you truly start living. You start making choices based on what makes you happy, not what pleases others. You start speaking your truth, chasing your dreams, and embracing who you are. That is real freedom. Fear is a prison, and the only way to break free is to stop feeding it. Take risks, make mistakes, fall, get up and try again. Life is too short to be lived in the shadows of fear. Step into the light of freedom, because that is where the magic happens.